I want to be respectful of everyone's time, and so I would like to get this going. So anyway, welcome everybody to our town hall for the College of Idaho, for the reopening plan for our fall 2020 semester. My name is Joe Hughes. I'm the Director of Marketing and Communication at the college. And just so everyone is aware, we're recording this session so that we can send this out to folks afterwards. I think most of you have probably already muted your microphones on your computers, but that would be helpful through this to eliminate some distractions. And also, it looks like most of you don't have your cameras on as well. That's good, unless you're answering some of the questions, like I see Jen and Paul and David on here. They'll be answering several of the questions. Our cameras will be on for this. So thank you, everyone, for your patience, for sending in some questions. In particular, your patience as we've been working through this. We have several questions from the group that we will get to. As you can see on your screen, we have several from our leadership team that are gathered here to answer those questions. And so thank you again for submitting them. As we introduce each one of the people from the leadership group that's on the call, they'll have a few opening comments, and then we'll get to the submitted questions that you have sent us. Hopefully you've had some time to review the communications that we sent out earlier this week. So first off, we will hear from our co-president, Doug Brigham, who I believe is on the call. Doug?
Well, good afternoon. Thanks, Joe, and welcome everybody. I'll add my welcome on behalf of myself and Jim Everett, the other co-president. We're both on, and let me just start by saying what you see here is what you can look forward to at the College of Idaho. This is how we do things. We're a small, close-knit community, and having sessions like this where we can be transparent and answer questions, get used to it. This is what we do. But I'll just add Joe's thanks for being here. It's been quite a time for everybody, and we just appreciate your interest in the College of Idaho and are so looking forward to those of you that are students getting here to campus over the next couple of weeks and getting a chance to meet you and know you, or if you're going to be virtual, looking forward to meeting you virtually and ultimately in person. I'll just give you a little background on how we got to where we are. So we have had 5 different task forces going for the last couple of months, looking at all of the different things, how we can do this safely and the right way. And the one fundamental thing that we've had the entire time was we've said we have to make sure whatever we do is safe and healthy for our students, for our faculty, and our staff. So every decision we make starts with that as the baseline. And what you see here today, what we announced the other day, is really the culmination of that. Unfortunately, we'd spent most of the summer being very optimistic that we could start in-person classes and everybody on campus. But the COVID trend lines, particularly in southwestern Idaho, have not cooperated in that process. And so ultimately, we decided to do what we announced the other day, and that is give us ultimate flexibility for all of our students and all of our faculty and staff. So students have the choice of whether they want to start in person or remain remote. And we understand and support either of those decisions. And it also gives us maximum flexibility that if things do improve, and we're very optimistic that they will, that we can pivot to more online or more in-person classes and take advantage of that, at least for the students that are on campus. So we'll be ready to pivot however we have to, but we're really happy with where we're at and looking forward to everybody being involved. The last thing I'll say is I've noticed a lot of colleges apologizing for going online. We are not going to apologize for being online. This is not a school where you're online and you've got 500 or 1,000 other students online in the same class. This is the same delivery we would get in person. So your classes are going to be small. Faculty are going to know your name. You're going to know your professors. You're going to know the staff. You're going to get to know your fellow students. You're going to be able to reach out and ask for help. Our online is not like everybody else. It is still a small, close-knit, face-to-face, whether that face is over a screen or it's in person. it is still face-to-face. So with that, I'll turn it back to Joe and just welcome everybody, and thanks for tuning in today.
Great. Thank you for that introduction, Doug. There's a reason the College of Idaho is the #1 ranked college in the state of Idaho, and this school does education better than anybody, and that will not change. We just want to make sure that that end result continues, and to address some of those areas will be David Douglas, our Vice President of Academic Affairs and Dean of Faculty. David, talk about a little bit about that transition to online and how we want to keep the relationships going.
Oh, I'm glad to do so,
Oh, no.
Joe. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me reorient my camera here. That was a terrible mistake.
That weight loss thing you've been on was really taking.
It's really working for me, isn't it? I feel like I'm a whole new me. Yeah. So, hi, students. It's a pleasure to join you. I would echo President Brigham's remarks in saying that, boy, we have continuity and change, don't we? In the sense that our values, our principles and philosophy of education remain completely unchanged. I'll say something about that in just a second here. But we also have to acknowledge that we're coming to you in a virtual medium. Even this moment, this won't look exactly the same as your class experience, but your class experience will also not look exactly the same as it would traditionally at the college. So I guess this moment, what occurs to me to say by way of welcome, is to acknowledge that life is not like it ever has been before. This is a moment of historic significance. You already know that. There has never been a pandemic of this type in this era, in terms of the technological opportunities we have to address it, the ways that we can maintain contact with each other, continue to do things that we do, and yet at the same time, the continuity of experience across pandemics. I've gone back and looked at our archival materials here at the college in 1918, back during the Spanish flu epidemic. The experience that people were having, they described them in such similar ways as we're seeing now in social media and online. So there it is. So what I would like to share with you in just the next few minutes is, first of all, who I am, because that's distantly relevant to you. I'm David Douglas. My work here, I'm Dean of the Faculty, among other things, and that means that I get to wrangle the faculty. I'm accountable for the quality of their teaching, for hiring them, continuing to develop them, for your experience. Everything credit related is really the domain of academic affairs, which I oversee. And so anything that goes amiss, I need to know about from you. And we have multiple ways of ensuring that feedback is possible and easily uptaken. We ask your opinions in print at the end of every semester, but I also hope to hear from you on a regular basis, not just for concerns or complaints, but share your stories, your experiences with me, because it helps us make sure that we're calibrating and directing our energies in the classroom as well as possibly can be the case. Which leads me, I threatened a moment ago to say something about the philosophy or principles that guide us. And you may already know a lot about this, so I'll keep this part brief. But we believe that learning to be meaningful has to be relevant. That is relevant to you. And the only way to ensure that that's the case is for your faculty members to get to know you. Education at its best is always reciprocal. Good faculty members learn as much as they teach. And they are students their whole lives. They never stop developing. And the conversations that we've been having, especially over the course of this summer, have everything to do with me encouraging them to embrace the fact that learning is reciprocal and that their classes are autobiographical. In every single class session, never mind semester-long course, they're inscribing, their own lives. They are succeeding or failing in engaging you and transforming you. You are their legacy. You are the ultimate test of whether they have succeeded in their vocation or not. And so, again, this is a brilliant, unique set of challenges that none of us would have wished on ourselves, but we are rising to that occasion. We've been hard at work all summer long preparing for the beginning of the fall term. And so their struggle with me has been to figure out how to translate what it is that we do that is so contingent on the intimacy of human connections, getting to know each other, working in small groups through dialogue. How do you translate that into an online format? And they're making great strides. So many innovations, flipping the classrooms, that is moving the material from the content of a class that can be pushed asynchronously into an on-demand forum. For example, anything that like a film or reading a book or content of a class, a lecture, a traditional lecture, that can be simply recorded and made available to you on demand at your leisure. That's being done so that students can use that time in class to really engage each other and their faculty members in dialogue. No more office hours, we have student hours. Faculty members are increasingly setting up team meetings so that you can join at any time during the period of that team meeting to chat with them about any old thing that you might want to, as opposed to the traditional model of an office hour where you would go to either virtually or physically, to their office space and so forth. So tons of innovations around that. A quick word about technology. We are going to be utilizing two primary platforms. Many of you are probably familiar with these, or at least know of them. Many of you may have already used them in your school experience to this point. The first of those is our course management system, our CMS, which is called Canvas, and it's very similar to Blackboard or Moodle or Sakai. There are so many of these in the world these days, and they all serve the primary function of providing essentially a storage place, a holding place for the course curriculum. So typically the syllabus and the schedule would reside there. You often will post your assignments to the course support module like this. Some faculty members use it for their grade book and they post their grades there, although they're not obliged to. There's a certain amount of flexibility. Some of them are heavy users and they exploit every opportunity inside Canvas, and others they have other ways of doing things that may utilize some additional ways of getting information back and forth, but it'll at minimum be the repository of the primary course documents. In addition, that's partnered with a course collaboration software platform, which is Teams. And Teams is what we're using right now for this meeting, and it'll be used for every single class session that you hold in the coming semester. And it, in turn, is similar to Zoom or Skype or other platforms that you may have used. Very similar, enables us to talk to each other in real time, to record sessions as this is being recorded for others who may not be able to participate live. And to break out in separate sessions as need be, to use the written chat on the right side of our screens if you've clicked on that icon and so forth. So those are really the two primary information technology platforms we'll be utilizing for the fall term. Again, if you're familiar with them, brilliant. If not, no worries at all. They're quickly and easily learned, so you'll come up to speed in no time whatsoever. That was really about what I had in mind to say. Again, from academic affairs, we're so thrilled to see you arrive in the fall, virtually or in person. And I know there are some questions that some of you have already submitted. I'm very much looking forward to hearing from Joe. We're going to talk about your questions and answers going forward. So I'll hold my thoughts on the particulars with regard to that until that time. For now, I'll just say, welcome. We can't wait to get you here. Cheers.
Great. Thank you very much, David. And just as important as the relationship and the bonds that are built between our students and our faculty, our students and our students. And up next is Paul Benyon, our Vice President of Student Affairs and our Dean of Students, to give you a little bit of an overview as to what we're working to ensure that those relationships can be built even when you're not together physically on campus.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it. So my job following David is to add some decorum and gravitas to this discussion. So I'll try and see if I can.
I feel like there's an insult hidden in there somewhere. I'm not sure how I feel about it.
Oh, there is.
So David likes to refer to this as, well, we both do, Dean of the Day and Dean of the Night. You can guess who's who. But so I as Vice President for Student Affairs and Dean of Students, it's really important to me that we live into our mission as a residential liberal arts college. It's truly who we are and what we're about, that students are coming here for intellectual development, of course, first and primary. But along that intellectual journey, we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to contribute to their personal, professional, social identity development, and that's a lot of that takes place outside the classroom. I mean, obviously they're not separate spheres; they work in cohort with one another. So, so the residential experience is very important to us. As we go online, we're cognizant of that. We are going to have a residential community, and we're going to have an online community. And I want to assure everybody that we're doing everything we can to try and make sure that both the residential community, which will be a bit different for sure to start, as well as the online community are connecting. And so that you're not just getting that that intellectual development, you're also getting the connections and the learning that takes place from informal dialogues with other students in various venues, who are coming from different backgrounds and perspectives. That's all really important to us. And so we're going to do everything we can. You'll be receiving soon a little more detail on our orientation efforts, which are intended to do exactly that, especially in the first couple days and then the first couple weeks, and then throughout the remainder of the semester and even year. So we're our goal, of course, is to monitor the situation, both in the country, globally, the country, locally, in Caldwell, and on our campus, and get back to in-person as soon as possible, where we have our full community back living on campus. But in the interim, I just want you to know how committed we are to your experience, regardless of the choice you end up making, because ultimately, this, as David said, these are unprecedented times. And so it is compulsory for us to provide you with an intellectual delivery. And we want you to benefit from the co-curricular in whatever ways you can, doing it as healthy as possible and safely as possible. So part of that is, and if you do elect to live on campus, and this applies to our employees as well, as we developed a YOPE Fam social compact, and for short we're calling it our YOPE Pact. And everybody is agreeing to abide by these measures, these empirically supported measures that we know by themselves can and will make an impact in terms of mitigating the community spread. And if we're all doing that on campus, off campus, that is the most likely scenario we have. And obviously we hope a vaccine in the near future as well, of getting us to a place where we can be back and in relatively normal operation mode. So if you haven't had a chance yet to look at that, whether you're going to live on campus or not, I would encourage you to do so. And there are some wonderfully developed videos in there that kind of give you a sense of where our student community feels on things. So there's a residential video, there's a video from our student government, and so please go take a look at those. But it's important to us that we're being healthy both on campus and off campus.
Great. Thank you, Paul. And in reference to some of those documents that he had mentioned, hopefully you've seen them. If you want to find them easily again, there's a banner on the top of the college's website, collegeofidaho.edu, and a link to where all those updates are living. The banner is right across the top of the very first page you come to. If you click on the more information on there, it'll take you to where a lot of those links live. And so we encourage you to review those again. We have a frequently asked questions document that is there that is fairly robust that we will continue to add to as more questions come in and answers to be delivered from there. Many of you students, I'm sure, have probably already had some sort of interaction with Jen Nelson, our Director of Residence Life. She's also our Associate Dean of Student Affairs. And if you haven't, then you probably will soon. And they will be, I'm sure, just fantabulous experiences, because she's that kind of a person. And I don't know if I've ever seen anybody work as hard to ensure that the lives of our students who are on campus and off campus are enriched. And so, Jen, how about a few words about what's happening on campus and with the residence life?
Thank you so much, Joe. That was really kind. And I do want to take a moment and just say if any parents or students are out on this call that I've talked with in the last couple of weeks, I just have so much gratitude for just the kindness that everyone has shown. And I really appreciate that and the flexibility. So it is so important to us to balance clearly the wellness of the community and then that traditional element of face-to-face experiences in a residential setting with the realities of living in this moment. And I'm really excited, frankly, that I feel like we kind of hit the right balance here, because we'll be primarily single rooms or mostly single rooms. And since this is an opt-in to housing, that really gives you a chance to make a good decision that's right for you. I can tell you for the students that are on campus, we have our RA staff is excited to get going for the year. We're already planning virtual programs like virtual dance parties. We're doing like evening virtual sing-alongs with a little make your own bonfire in a jar. It's not a real fire, by FYI, but make little craft activities, and we'll supply all those things. All the craft materials you would need, and have those activities. We're going to bring back out in the spring. We did bedtime stories where we had our faculty and many times their families or dogs read stories at night to over Teams to residents. And so anyway, we're planning lots of ways for students to connect and feel, be a part of the community, to connect with each other virtually as well as in person. And so we're excited for what the fall's going to bring, and we know there's going to be some challenges, but I think that's just an opportunity for innovation. So welcome, and we're excited to hear your questions.
Great, thank you, Jen. And so let's get to the questions. I put these in some categories, grouped them together so we have some similar topics to go through. We've introduced a phased plan at the college. Phases 1 through 6. We will be starting in phase 2. Phase 1 is what we've been in all summer. Phase 2 is where we'll be starting. So we will be evaluating the movement between those phases as we go through the semester. And you saw in the email that we'll be evaluating for phase 3 in September. So the question was, if we move into phase 3, does this mean more students would move onto campus, or just that the ones already there would have more in-person opportunities? So Paul or Jen, either one of you would be willing to take this question?
I'll start, and Jen can certainly correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the intent is that if we have capacity, okay, and meaning Jen alluded to it, that we're trying to make sure that we can accommodate pretty much singles. If we have capacity, then we'll certainly allow that flexibility at that stage. There is also the flexibility we might have to even go past that if we have people voluntarily willing to potentially double. And of course, we would want to talk through both students and stuff about that, and the potential risks involved in doing so. But that's likely what will happen in the fall. Jen, does that sound consistent? Okay, thanks.
Great. And the next question was very much related to it. I think may have just been answered. If we move to stage 4 before the next semester, will the students be able to move on campus? And it sounds like that there may be opportunities based on that, and what kind of capacity that we have and are experiencing here in the first semester. So those things will be determined as we're going along. But it seems like if there is capacity, there will be some opportunities if we are in the right phase there. So. Another question. Will students be able to receive groceries on campus from family? Jen, let's hear your voice if you have an answer.
I love this question. This was a great question. So we are limiting guests in the residence halls from off campus, and we're asking that students limit travel out of residence halls or off campus and back on campus, again, just to really limit exposure in general. But if your family would like to bring groceries for you, you could meet them out on the porch. Please, everybody wear face masks, as we're all doing now. And then you could take your groceries into the residence hall. There's no reason that couldn't happen. And maybe you could make some treats for all the rest of your friends in the residence hall too.
And I see in the chat that David Douglas has already requested that if you share those with your favorite administrator. So that would be Paul, I think. No, sorry. Everyone's picking on David. Maybe it's because you have such a cute dog picture on your
so unfair
avatar right there. Another question. Has there been consideration of offering students to take actually, we're going to shift over to, I think Brian Baba would be best to answer this one. Has there been consideration of offering students to take a gap year and maintain their financial awards to start the 2021 year? This is coming from an incoming freshman who would consider this if it was available, but they don't want to lose the aid package that they've already been awarded. Brian, can you answer this one? Brian Baba, Vice President of Enrollment, and who we did not introduce at the very beginning.
That's okay. No, thanks. Great question. And I mean, this has been the practice of the college all along, so it's not anything new. If students choose to defer for a semester or for a year, they retain their scholarships that have been awarded from the college and maintain that financial aid. The only thing that potentially could change if a student were to defer to fall of 2021 is any need-based aid if there's an update to the FAFSA that might change their level of need. But otherwise, the institutional awards will stay intact.
Great, thank you for that answer, Brian. And the last question from the pre-submitted about the reopening, the plan, and the phases. And this actually could be either, I think, Paul or David worked on very much our phases. What criteria needs to be met to go onto campus or even to move between phases?
Yeah, I guess I can start. So this is Paul. We're obviously going to be closely monitoring the COVID community spread, both as we talked about in the state and in the region, Caldwell, and then how we're doing on campus. And so I think primarily these decisions will be made as a result of our ability to feel comfortable with adding additional flexibility in terms of freedoms, if you will, and the ability to gather in a little bit larger gatherings. All that stuff will be dependent upon the COVID rates and our ability to feel confident that our community is able to engage in the mitigation measures, wearing masks and all that to keep it from escalating.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that, Paul. Let's shift on to more of, and this first question is actually a little bit of residence life, a little bit of academics. The question was, I would like to have a better understanding of how things are going to work. I would like to see if I can make an adjustment to my schedule. And I would like to make sure I was not assigned a dorm because I would like to live at home while going to school. So maybe this is a combination of David and a combination of Jen.
I'll jump in first. Mine might be a little faster. That's okay, David.
You implying that I would be slow?
Yeah, so we are working on, for students that are not interested in living on campus, we're working on canceling housing and meal plans over the weekend and the beginning of next week. So you'll see that reflected on your account by early next week, but it's going to take us a little bit of time to do that, but we're going to get that done by early next week.
Great. And then working with schedules, David, that falls under the academic affairs wing.
Absolutely. And the question was, somebody wanted to know if an adjustment to their schedule would be possible. And the answer is absolutely. All students are given schedules that are generated based on their stated interests and also the areas of curriculum that they have indicated they desire to go to, along with the classes that we know are necessary for first-year students or transfer students, as the case may be. But that isn't always the right fit for you for a variety of reasons. Maybe because of your working schedule, off campus, on campus. It may have to do with other classes that you think are more desirable, or frankly, you just change your mind. And so we have flexibility there. Nicole Kamen, who is our point person, she's our AVP who oversees academic support, and she is really our point person in terms of academic advising for first-year students. Although many students continue to consult her all the way through their time here at the college. Once you move into a major minor program, you'll have additional advising through the faculty members that oversee those programs. But we the motto, a mentor and two friends, we want you to have multiple cascading opportunities to engage with mentors inside and outside the academic domain. So to the point of the question, yes, there will be multiple opportunities for you to move your classes around and adjust your schedule and working with Nicole before classes start. And then in addition, you have the first 10 days of classes, 2 full weeks of classes. It's the add drop period in which you can make changes to your schedule and leave no trace. That is, it doesn't appear on your transcript later. So it's a chance for you to try out a class, hear what the professor says the class is all about, look over the syllabus, and confirm that it's really in your interests and serves your purposes. And if it's not quite the right fit, then there may be some other class that you'd like to replace it with. You can do so by dropping that one, adding the other class. And as I say, for the first 10 days of the term, you can do so without it leaving any mark. Thereafter, you can still drop classes. The withdrawal period extends to 60% of the way through the semester. So deep into the term, past the halfway mark, you still have the opportunity to make some other kinds of changes, but you can no longer add classes. And that does result in a W. And That's because, record keeping policy dictates that once you've been in a class for a long enough time, you leave some tracks behind you. But that's not a stigma. More about that if you care to hear it.
Great, David. We'll stick with you. I know you hit some of this in your opening remarks. It's kind of a general double question. How does online schooling work? Which is very broad. There's going to be many aspects of that, and I know you've touched on some of them. But in addition to that, this submission says or asks, is everything online, or will there be some in-person teaching?
So let me take those in reverse order. Everything will be online, because we have students coming to us from around the world. And so it's necessary that we have all parts of our curriculum accessible, available in an online venue. So start there. As we move through the phases of reopening, we will layer in opportunities for in-person experiences of one type or another, but those will be layered on top of and will be in addition to the online experience. So no part of the experience will be required of you to be here, because again, we know there are students all over the country and all over the world who are joining us. The second part is a harder question to answer when someone asks, what will it be like? How will online schooling work? The answer is multiple, it's plural. And that's because it really depends on the faculty member, the curriculum, the level of the class, the number of students. It goes on and on. Some classes are heavily skills oriented. Others are entirely content oriented. Some of them require activity, repetition of performance by students to really get it down. Lab classes are like this, musical performance classes. Others are more discussion oriented and can easily move to an online format without any difficulty whatsoever. I know that in some places, for example, our labs are moving into an online forum, no problem at all. So students will be engaged in effectively reproducing the hands-on lab experience, but they'll be doing it in a virtual context. In other cases, some of our faculty members are arranging to have materials sent literally, physically sent to students' homes so that they can conduct some of the activities in their homes, because they can't really be reproduced online. And so everything from soup to nuts. So it's difficult to give a single answer. Multiple methods, one target. Does that make sense? Our target is that you'll have a great experience. You'll learn a ton. It'll be engaging for you. Different faculty members have different methods of getting to that target.
Thanks, David. This next question is quite specific. How can an art class be done virtually?
Yes. Well, as you may have already seen by the fine art behind me, I am myself an aficionado, a deep appreciator of art. And in fact, in my own way, I'm a bit of a collector. So just asserting that as a kind of credibility at the front end. The fact of the matter is the production of art and learning about art can happen in every format, in every venue, two-dimensional, three-dimensional. To master the production of art, of course, one has to engage in creation of art. There's no other way about it. Alas, the answer to the question is the same one I gave a moment ago. It depends on the class and on the instructor, on the content, the nature of the experience that's being represented. And so in some cases, it's possible to do digital art. In other cases, it's necessary to have materials and engage in that work in an online way. I mean, that is wherever you'll happen to be. We have a remarkable art faculty, and I can't wait to have them get together with you and you with them and do the great work that you're going to do in a digital mode to figure out how that happens. They already know. But I'll withhold any specific comment there, because it really does depend on the class, the instructor, and the medium in which you're working. And that's also a way of pointing out we have digital art courses in addition to two-dimensional art courses and three-dimensional art courses. So everything from traditional sculpture and painting to the creation of art, it literally, from the ground up, purpose-built in a digital medium. So it's not just, oh gosh, we have to translate all this online. Some of it was born online and will always live online, because that's the nature of the artistic experience.
Thanks, David. The next question has a little bit to do with the scheduling, which you've already referenced. What would the class schedules look like? And in addition, was asking how the flexibility with the online classes, would there be a set class time, or are they able to move those around? I think it's a combination, again, based on the faculty member as well as to how to utilize that set class time.
Yeah, I can say that we have a baseline because we are the College of Idaho. There are so many terrific schools in the world, some of them with 100,000 students or more than 100,000 students that run their classes largely asynchronously. And this is one of the new artifacts in the lexicon of going online, isn't it? The concept of synchronicity or asynchronicity, not referring to the classic Police song years ago, but rather to the concept of whether one studies in real time at the same time as other members of the class and the faculty member, that would be synchronous. Or if it's on-demand curriculum that you can access day or night, wherever you happen to be, in your time zone, your locale, and that would be asynchronous. And our commitment to you is that we, as I've said at the very outset of my comments, we're committed to you, to the human connection, to the context of knowledge. And so that's much harder, if not impossible, to achieve in a purely asynchronous venue. So every week you'll have at least one meeting with your class. That is your faculty member and other members of your class. And your faculty member will have some flexibility after that threshold of meeting to determine what really fits best. So there will be some cases where there'll be asynchronous content available to you each week in addition to that live meeting. There are other cases where every scheduled class session will be a scheduled class session, and you'll be expected to show up ready to go, and certainly your faculty member will be there as well. So it does vary, but the minimum is every week at least once you'll be meeting with that person live and the rest of your classmates.
Great, David. Last question on the academic category, and I'm not sure I quite understand the question, maybe, which is why I'll ask it to you anyway, because, but what classes will be required or available for public access? Would it be classes like biology labs? I think of public access, I think of television, some things like that.
Right.
I'm not sure I'm understanding the question the way it was intended. What classes?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I can imagine two ways it could be interpreted without any claim to read the intentions of the person who asked it. So we'll invite your clarification. If we don't nail it, just ask us again or specify what we could address. It would be helpful to you. I guess one way would be, viewing publicly or broadly by anybody. I doubt that's what you meant, but it's one interpretation. All of our classes are really restricted to you, to the students enrolled in the class. They're not for public viewing. They're not, MOOCs. They're massive online public open classes. That's not what we do. Not because we do anything that's secret, mind you, that would be somehow wrong, but rather because the intimacy of the educational experience. We want to keep faith with you, develop a community with you, and get to know each other as parts of the same commitment to learning and being a discussant. And so over the course of any semester, naturally the class develops its own identity, almost roles, if you will, that we each feel comfortable in. And then, of course, hopefully we press the boundaries of those roles as we learn. But that, I think, gets disrupted in significant ways if it's, the revolving door of people watching or coming in and so forth. So, yeah, it's you. It's just the students enrolled in the class with an occasional guest speaker or visitor who might drop by with the permission of the faculty member. The second of the two ways I think that it could be understood is probably the one you meant, and that is public access, or that is, some classes might have a physical context or presence, and the question could be understood to say, could a student who happens to live on campus or in the vicinity of the campus come by physically in person to see the lab or to visit the physical facilities or conduct an experiment or speak with a faculty member socially distanced and with masks? And the answer to that is a soft yes in phase two. That is, our faculty members are absolutely available to you and should be able to, communicate with them. And if you feel like, I just want to talk to a real person, have a chat on the quad, sit on the stairs. There are so many great, gorgeous places on our campus for you to have a perfectly safe visit of that sort. And almost all of our faculty members will be proximate to you. That is available to you. There are a small number of them who may not be on site because they themselves have special situations going on there. So yes, the labs, again, the soft yes. And the reason is because not all of them are going to be open for access by students, and without training or prerequisite, curriculum, it may not be appropriate for you to get in there and muck around as much as all of us may want that to happen. When we move to phase three, the answer is a stronger yes, in the sense that many faculty members, all of them will have the option, and many of them will take that. They've already indicated their desire to teach a hybrid class and stream online, and also accommodate students who may be able to come in person. So in a limited fashion, it will be possible, and inconsistent across classes. We can't say, all classes, but some of them variously, depending on the situation, will be able to accommodate in-person instruction. So we're very much looking forward to shifting to phase three as early as possible and open up some of those opportunities for you to, get in there in person to do some hands-on work of the sort that we know best.
David, thank you very much for that. We're going to shift categories now into the, we had several questions that came in regarding finance. And this first one, we'll have either Jen or Brian take a stab at it. The question is, do we get reimbursed or money back for our housing plan as well as our meal plan?
I
Jen?
can jump in. Yeah, just
Go ahead, Jen.
sure. Yeah, we will, if you are not choosing not to live on campus, we will cancel your assignment over the weekend, and you'll see that reflected on your account early next week. So if you've already paid, you would then get reimbursed.
Great, Jen, thank you. Next question. Will this decision to go online only for the start affect any of the financial aid I was awarded? This person specifically is asking about a music scholarship depending on individual lessons and participation in choir. Brian, you want to give this one a?
Yeah, for sure. And the short answer is no, it won't impact it. You'll still receive that scholarship. We'll honor that. There may be some ways that the department will want to connect with you, either, to honor kind of the spirit of that scholarship, but it's not going to be an issue if it turns out that it's not possible for you to do that this semester. You'll still get that scholarship, and we'll continue to honor it.
Thank you, Brian. We'll send this next question to Doug Brigham. And actually, some of the answer of this is on our frequently asked questions page. So please, if you have additional questions and didn't hear them answered, they might be located there as well. How is the question is, how is tuition affected?
Yeah, thanks, Joe. And the quick answer is it's not affected. We looked long and hard about that, and there have been a few schools that have done a percentage decrease to tuition, but we looked at several factors. One is just last spring, we refunded a little over $1 million in terms of room and board to students who moved off campus, and that refund was given in the form of a credit to the fall semester. So we're taking that impact this fall. The second is we've tried to be, with this format, as flexible as we can for students with financial needs. And by that, I mean, if a student does have some more severe financial needs at this point, they have the option of living at home and trying to save money, both on room and board for that. The third is we were fortunate enough to receive some federal funding from the CARES Act over the summer, and we turned that right around and gave grants out to our students, returning students, that is, for help in any kind of COVID expenses, or even if they need it for tuition this fall. So we've tried to do that. And then the last area is just the fact of the matter is there really isn't a reduction in our cost to deliver in an online model versus an in-person model. And we've tried to do everything we can to reduce our costs on campus. And you can see in the frequently asked questions all of the steps we've taken to reduce those costs to be as efficient as we can and still deliver this product. So hopefully that helps.
Great. Doug, thank you for that answer. This next question is the last in sort of the financial category. I'm going to send this over to Jen again because I think you've touched on this, but I think the prepay part is the new part of this question. How much will the difference in cost be? Well, if we're living off of campus, if they're previously living on campus, we already paid. So will there be a refund or credit issued?
Yes. So you'll have a refund issued if you choose to live off campus. So, and it's the, I know we have a number of different price points for different housing options. So whatever that housing option you had assigned, that's the amount that will be subtracted from your account. That makes sense.
Great, Jen, and I'm glad you're speaking because a lot of these next questions are headed your way, having to do with residence life and student life. Can we have a mini refrigerator, and are there chairs for the desks?
Yes, and yes. Both answer. You can absolutely have a mini fridge in your room, and there are desk chairs included. Yes.
Next question is, since the dorm plan is to house one student per room, does that mean that the rates will double for the one student, or is it the same price?
The rates are double. Oh,
just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Oh, I didn't didn't even hear what you said.
I didn't hear what he
Paul.
said.
No, the rates are not doubling. The new rates are in the application, and they are also, let me think, they were on emails that were sent out. But we thought it was important to keep the rates relatively similar or the same. So they're similar. There's a couple of the options that are a little more expensive, but otherwise they're pretty similar.
Next question, Jen. Is there a way that we can add something to our application to live on campus if we already submitted it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I have, I've gotten this question from a few different students, I think, as they've realized that, so we're going to try to house students in cohort groups. So that might be athletic groups. It might be that you have a couple of friends that you're coming here with, or you know some other people. And so we're going to try to put you close together. So that's really your social support system for the term, and that we'll plan a lot of activities in that social support system. So if you have people or cohorts you want to add, you can actually just email me at reslife@collegeofidaho.edu. So again, reslife, RESLIFE, so just one word, at collegeofidaho.edu. And I'm keeping all those notes, and we'll be using those this weekend as we make housing assignments.
And if I could just add, this is Paul Benyon. We do have a parent Facebook page. It has a lot of these details addressed on it as well. So that might be a place for parents to go and get some more answers if they want.
Indeed. I was just granted access to that page because I asked for it today, and there is a lot of information on there, and a lot of our parents who have been through several years of this have been answering a lot of the questions, as well as some of our staff who are parents as well on there. So that is a great resource. Another question, Jen, will the room I was previously assigned be held?
So I have saved and archived all of the housing assignments that we had done for the fall. So we have that saved, and we're kind of putting that aside right now. And then because we're really waiting to see who is interested in living on campus and who that group is when the applications are due tomorrow night, Friday night at 5 p.m. So we really need to see who those people are, and then start kind of putting the puzzle pieces together again, and again, assigning people in cohort groups and in groups that, with other folks that they would want to spend time with this fall. We will look at your previous housing assignment, and if we can kind of make those puzzle pieces fit, we will. We'll be kind of working quickly this weekend to get this turned around and get information out to students next Monday. So I can't guarantee that it's going to be exactly the same, but we're going to try to take all this information together and do the best we can so people can have a nice home and a nice place that they feel comfortable and where they can really make some strong connections in the fall. Great.
Jen, I do have one more question for you, but I'm going to throw out a different question first. Actually, more kind of a clarification that one of our enrollment staff sent me via message. Greg Franz was, and I think maybe Brian might be able to address this. The financial aid ramifications. We did touch on the fact that talent scholarships will not be affected, but there's a potential that need-based awards could be affected if a student's cost is reduced by, say, moving off of campus, so that you don't have that cost of being on campus any longer. Brian, are you still on the call?
I am, yes.
Yes.
Yes. No, thanks for bringing that up, Joe. And when you make the decision to live off campus, that changes what we call your cost of attendance, because you no longer have those costs included. There's a formula that we do use to estimate what it would cost for you to be living at home and to eat at home, but it's factored in and it adjusts your cost of attendance. So if you were receiving any sort of need-based aid, it's possible that you may see a reduction in that, but it also should still be a net positive decrease because of the cost of room and board on campus. But if there are questions about that, we're happy to address those through our Office of Financial Aid or through the Office of Admissions, and work with families on a case-by-case basis.
Great. Thanks for stepping in on that one, Brian. Jen, let's go back to you for this last of the submitted questions. What kind of activities will there be to help bring students together virtually?
You bet. So I brought up a few in when I introduced myself. We also have planned room workouts, picnics, both on the quad and virtual picnics in your room. Like if you get your meal to go, you come back and with your floor, you all eat together and have a virtual picnic. Cahoots tournaments, bingo tournaments. We have a lot of creative activities like paint nights, where we actually have like an artist that has volunteered to lead a paint session and everybody can teams in. We're using that as a verb now. I think we can teams in and we'll get you the paint supplies, and in your room you can paint something. In the spring, we had a lot of students learn to knit, and I think we'll get supplies and allow students to kind of enrich themselves creatively in that way too. We have sidewalk chalk. We'll have also outdoor activities, things where you can go walking together or do workouts together, but still maintaining physical distancing and being out on our beautiful campus.
And I would just add to all those many good ideas where we also have a tradition of having our faculty and staff and even extending it to our alumni of coming in and sharing a personal interest that they have with groups of students. So we'll set that up. It'll be online, and so we've had professors who are run ultra marathons. So they come in, they just talk about their personal interests, and so that whole kind of a mentor and two friends. We're really trying to make sure that we're creating opportunities along the lines of just discussed and this, that where we can do that even virtually.
Jen, there's a follow-up from Ann Whitwood on the activities in the chat. Say the students are off campus, but they're local and nearby. Can they pick up supplies to do some of these activities that the students on campus would be doing?
That is a good idea. Probably if we have enough, yes, they could. I would think if we're able to, probably first priority will go to the students that are on campus, but if we have enough, they certainly could.
Sure. And then I'm going to ask you a question that you've already answered in the chat, Jen, but I thought it was worth asking for everyone to hear it because it's such a big part of our campus clubs. We have so many clubs for engagement of our students. It's easy to start a club on our campus. How will clubs work?
Yeah, and we still have club leaders, of course, and student leaders who are leading clubs. We have a staff member who will help kind of mentor the student leaders as to how best to virtually lead a club, and they will start the year having club meetings virtually, so anyone can participate, whether you're on campus or off campus. Should we get to a point in the semester where it would be okay to have larger group meetings? I mean, we will just see, right? I don't want to guarantee anything, but then the folks who are on campus could meet as a club then, but that would certainly not exclude anyone off campus. We will absolutely have the way to virtually have all club members be present too when there are meetings.
Great, super answers, Jen, and actually there's one that just came in from one of our viewers. Can freshmen have cars on campus?
Yes.
I don't know if that was changing or not based on what I had not heard specific.
Yes, they can. There's the general parking lot is behind Jake. I don't know how well this person knows campus, but yes, they would get a general parking permit and they could have a car.
Well, I appreciate everyone's input. I appreciate all the students and parents who have taken the time out to join us during this hour. That exhausts the submitted questions that we had and the ones that came in on the chat. So I believe this aspect of our Q&A is finished, but I'm sure if there's other questions that are coming up, hopefully you've had a chance to either read through or scan the frequently asked questions to see if maybe the Q&A is available there. And then as hopefully you can tell from our presidents clear through all the way through all of our staff members and faculty members, we're very approachable. So please, our email addresses and phone numbers are listed on the websites. If you have additional questions, you can reach out to your the enrollment office or any of us who Residence Life and Jen, and send your additional questions that you may have that we would be happy to answer. Just it's an interesting time. It'll be a different kind of semester than we've ever had, but this staff and this faculty and this college is prepared to take this on, and we want you to be part of this. So, with that, I'm going to say thank you to everyone for joining in this last hour. We hope to be seeing all of you, either virtually or in person, very soon, joining our Yod Fam. With that, our group town hall is over. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.